Global economic collapse is underway as nations bury themselves in debt, all intentionally directed by the technocratic elite. Central banks have been successful at punishing the middle class, wiping out savings, and transferring it to the richest of the rich. The New World presents a gloomy picture, one of restrictions, simulated reality, poverty, and hordes of sheep begging for their next meal. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Let's discuss a whole variety of topics today. We're going to begin with this brand new information as of the posting of this video, a plane crash. ISIS claims responsibility for Russian jet crash. Victims found over a 3-mile radius after the plane with 224 onboard crashes in Egypt. No survivors. Officials blaming a technical fault. So apparently the pilot warned of a technical problem shortly before the disaster. What we don't know is whether that technical problem was something that ISIS had some involvement in. We'll have to keep an eye on this. I just wanted to bring it out because it's brand new. And what we also need to factor in here is, where does ISIS get their funding from? Oops, I mentioned that. Okay, let's move on. In today's Russia, it is not fashionable to delve too deeply into Gulag history. This is out of The Guardian. And they actually try to make the Gulag seem like a pretty decent place. We should not have one-sided evaluations. People fell in love in the camps. People got pregnant. It wasn't all bad. It was fashionable to say bad things about the USSR. Now it is again fashionable to insult Russia. The West looks for negative things. I believe that's true. They do look for negative things, and the other way around, it is the way that the mainstream media works. But you cannot present the gulags as a fashionable place. It's not wonderful to be in the gulag. What they tried to talk about in this article, using many different people, quoting here, saying, look, we needed a war, we needed to win a war, and we needed to put some people in the forced labor camps in order to do that. Hey, we won the war, so therefore it's not all that bad. But that's not the case. You can't force people into anything, and you can't spit mainstream media garbage trying to promote this. This is disgusting. I'm going to move on here. This Gulag, all of the different forced labor camps, every action that they've taken place ever since sets off a reminder here to me. And it's Agenda 21. If you ask the general public, the mainstream media, Agenda 21 is a conspiracy theory. Well, you can call it a conspiracy theory if you want. I'll just go to the UN website, the UN.org, and look at Agenda 21. Okay, I'm not going to some other website, not going to the Money GPS to look at that. Go to the UN.org. I think that's an official website. Agenda 21 right here. It is not a conspiracy theory. It's so silly to hear people talk about that. And then those who admit it say, it's not bad. There's nothing going on. It's just, we're just talking. That's all. Type in agenda, go to a search engine, type in Agenda 21 and the name of your city. I did it for mine. So I typed in Agenda 21 Toronto, and you can see the documents, how they're going to implement Agenda 21 in Toronto. Now, you can see exactly what they intend on doing: cutting emissions and increasing taxation, limiting land use for humans. This is intentional to push us into a modern type of gulag. You have the mega cities. You shut down the infrastructure in between the mega cities. People will move out. They'll move into the big cities. They'll have to be close. They don't want to commute. There's no jobs in those other areas because, of course, the manufacturing type areas are basically being shipped overseas, replaced with automation. People don't need to get jobs there. They need to get jobs in retail. They need to get jobs in the service industries, which are located in the mega cities. This is how you force people into the mega cities. Agenda 21 is not everything, but Agenda 21 is an important layer to this agenda that they have. They call it Agenda 21. I call it a scheme. Doesn't matter. I'm consistently covering the robotics and automation and both sides of it, of course. Look at this, for example. It's a mini bus that has a specific path that it drives on, and it takes passengers from one area to another. People hop on the bus, it brings them to their destination, which is always a predefined route, drops them off, and then they can get off, and that's it. Seems great. You don't need to pay a driver. You don't need any, there's no concerns there. It can run 24 hours a day. That's it. It's great. It's awesome. But what about the downsides to this? What about the human interaction that is no longer the case? This is concerning to me, not in this instance in particular, but I'm talking about the future of humans. Where are they going to work? Even the lower paying jobs, where are they going to get these jobs if everything's being replaced? So I do understand both sides to the equation here. Venezuela is running out of money fast and has started selling its gold. This is actually a turn for the worse here for Venezuela, encountering massive levels of inflation. What they're doing is basically selling off all their assets. Any nation experiencing poverty is going to have to sell off their assets. They happen to be selling off their gold. Others sell off, like Greece, I've talked about this, selling off islands that they have, selling off their industries, basically giving up everything. Why? Because they're being put into poverty by the whole financial system and all of the criminality. This happens to be from my book, where I'm talking about central banks buying gold at a record pace, pushing prices higher at this time. This was written a few years ago. Hundreds of tons a year are being purchased now by the central banks of the world, most notably of the developing nations. The central banks, such as Mexico, Russia, and Thailand, South Korea, are buying at a record pace. This is what they do when they don't trust the US dollar. Does that mean that they're not buying up US debt? Absolutely not. They're buying in that, but they're also diversifying. Look at what China is doing specifically. Weather on demand. Making it rain is now a global business. Welcome to the strange world of cloud seeding. Another conspiracy theory. Wow. This is a very conspiratorial video here talking about cloud seeding, which is, of course, fictional if you ask the mainstream media, but a reality if you just spend a few minutes looking at it. They can make it rain, they can cause droughts, they can do all sorts of things to the sky, and in fact, they've been doing it for decades. It's admitted programs that are taking place for different purposes, and this is going on, in fact, all over the world. They've made it rain in the desert, they've done all sorts of different activities from the sky, from the airplanes, and here's just one very prominent example right out of Bloomberg. Let's move on here. We're looking at this, unfortunately, sad news. I did bring out some information recently talking about how the EU has this law that people, or nations I should say, can opt out of GMOs. But the EU lawmakers have blocked the opt-out from the GMO rules. So the European Union lawmakers rejected a draft law that would allow certain countries to ban GMOs. And what I find very interesting about this is that they said, look, this is going to hurt business. We can't do this. No, we can't do this. It has nothing to do with the health, nothing to do with the actual concerns of those particular nations. They said it's going to hurt business for the GMO manufacturers. So that's it. We're stopping it right here. Absolutely disgusting. Even the nations themselves oftentimes give in to everything. But when it comes to the food, here in the EU, many nations said, no, we don't want that garbage. And here they are allowing it to happen. So this is what you do. Even if that particular nation doesn't have any GMOs, it spreads. They found this to be the case. Let's look at this out of USA Today. And this is just a little bit of humor, but also a little bit sad as well. Man walks into jail, admits murder, gets turned away. So he went into the jail and basically said, "Hi there, I just killed my ex-girlfriend and I would like to basically admit to this." The police said, "You're at the wrong place. Go down the street. That's where you need to fill out all the paperwork and what have you." And this is just so amazing to read something like this. But it just goes to show you how broken the system is. That's all I want to mention with this. Just a little bit of sort of dark humor here. If you found the video informative, please give me a thumbs up. I also wanted to mention the fact I really do appreciate all the comments you gave me in the previous video. When I ask you a question, you guys are really responsive about that. We're almost at 28,000 subscribers here. The channel has really grown, and I really do appreciate all the support that I get. If you found the video informative, I know you'll find my book, The Money GPS, even more informative. If you go over to Amazon, they have this look inside feature, which allows you to flip through the book and see if you like it for yourself. Take care.